This is a unboxing of a Hamilton GMT Traveler 2. Comes in this nice little container, this nice little box here. And let's have a look at this watch. So the flap comes down, and on the inside you get a 2-year international warranty from Hamilton. I'll put that back in the box. And then the manual for this watch it's a generic manual. So they have the generic manual, but the specific manuals on how to operate this watch are actually videos on the Hamilton website. So it just does basic care cleaning of Hamilton watches. This is not what the watch looks like, but they go through cleaning of chronographs and blah 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 other things. So it says general instruction manual, so I thought this thing would come with its own instruction manual, but it didn't. So it's not that difficult to figure out though. So let me just put this back here. I'm not sure how this goes. I think this goes in kind of like this. Got to collect the card and the manual and just slide it in together, and hopefully that fits. Yeah, that's good. Now the whole shooting match then comes out at the top. And there we go, just slides out. That's kind of neat how this kind of just door opens, slides out. That's just quality, right? And the watch itself, this is a little bit of a protector on the bottom, so I'll just leave that the way it is. And then the watch itself is, let me just open the box here, and oh my god! It's the wrong watch. Anyway, I hope you have a sense of humor, because this is my Seiko Bumblebee watch, which is actually quite a nice watch too. And I have been wearing my Hamilton, so it's not really an unboxing. I cheated. So this is not the watch, although this is a beautiful watch. It's a Bumblebee Seiko. You can only get it in the US. Very nice watch, lots of style. I had already taken the Hamilton out, and here it is. So it's ta-da. So I guess an unboxing is a big lie. So I got this about 3 days ago, and I wanted to make a video on it, and I was like, okay, now I really want to wear this, so the heck with this. So anyway, this is the watch. Let me just lay it down here for a second, get rid of the box, and maybe get rid of the Bumblebee too, so it's not a distraction. And let's talk about this watch for a few seconds. So I'm going to move the camera in, and then I'm going to refocus it so we can get a close-up on this. And I'll just do this. And way too much light here, I think. So kind of just redirect the light, because it's just too much. Too intensive. Too intensive. Turn that off. Okay. Still a lot of light. So this is the watch here. As you can see, the face, it's a beautiful face on it. It's a GMT, and I'm just trying to angle it so the light doesn't kill it. Again, I don't have a lot of light on in this room, but it seems to be reflecting big time. Maybe if I turn the light on up top, or turn it off up top, it'll be a bit better. Just hang on 1 second, just stare at that for a second. Stare at its beauty, and I'll get right back. There, how's that for darker? And still looks light. Oh my god. Not sure, this camera just gathers light. Anyway, so a GMT, so this little tiny hand right here, the little tiny one with a triangle on the end, is the GMT hand. Now right now I have it set for England. So what happens in a GMT watch, I'm going to get a stick out so I can point. What happens in the GMT watch is you have your normal hour hand and minute hand and second hand. But the bezel on the inside of this GMT starts at 0 and then goes all the way around for 24 hours. So it's a 24-hour bezel. This hand here moves half the speed of the hour hand. So if the hour hand moves an hour, this moves half an hour. And so what you do is you set the little hand to what time it is where you want the second time, like in England. And if there's a difference of like 6 hours, then the time that's showing here would be, I'm just going to adjust my little pointer here, would be each one of these notches then is 2 hours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 5. So it's 5:30. It's 5:29 right now in England. So that's how you read that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5:29. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 29. And as this goes all the way around to 12, and then 20, then 13, 14, 15, because it's a 24-hour clock, like in an army watch or something, right? So to set this, and then also just to show you this, so this is a beautiful front on this watch, and I'm just going to just make sure that it's perfectly, yeah, there we go. So that's the front of this watch. Now if you look at the back, again, the movement is it's a Hamilton 2893-2 2893-2 movement, or it's the ETA 2893-2, which is a beautiful movement itself. It's a very high-end movement, and it's got the workings in there to allow you to have that third hand that is used at the arrow hand here as a GMT. So, and what they've done when they've cased this watch, what they did was they made the setting, all the settings are this knob here. So if I take, I'm going to screw up my time here, but what the hell, so. If I take this and I pull it out like this, I'm able to set, get the angle here again. I'm able to set the date. I'll flip the date here for you. See if I can flip the date. No. I need to pull it out once. There we go. And this direction changes the GMT. So that's the GMT hand moving in increments of a day. Or sorry, an hour. So it's moving in increments of an hour, but it's not quite at the hour marker because it's using the minute hand, the normal minute hand we have here, as its minute hand. So if I set this to back to England, I can hear it snapping into place. So that's just clicking into place. And if I actually downloaded the ETA 2893-2 technical manual on how to disassemble the movement, and it shows you all of the workings inside that cause this to happen. So if I set this back to where I was England time, it's just before 5. I think it was somewhere in here maybe. I think it was there. Anyway, that's turning this the crown here clockwise. Counterclockwise sets the date. So 5, 6. I'll just spin this thing around. So it's the 4th today. It's Monday the 4th. So try to spin around not too fast. And that sets the day, date, as they call it. So that's setting the date, and let me just get this back to 4 again so I know what day it is. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to be true, you set it to 3 and you spin the minute and hour hand around until the date changes, and then you know it's going to change at the right time. And then the time is just you pull that out again a little more, and you can set the time on the watch. So I got it set, it should be set to 12:36 or something like that. I'll just set it ahead and then change it later. So there we go, 12. I'm trying to set this without looking at it. 12:35, 12:36, and a little bit just so I'm not late for meetings. And then you push the crown in, and that's all the settings, and it's a screw-in crown. Now this second button is interesting. So what they've done, instead of having an ugly bezel that you would, for this kind of watch, that would look pretty bad. On dive watches it's fine. And like I showed you, that Seiko Bumblebee is a dive watch. So this watch here is not a Seiko Bumblebee. I said Bumblebee. Anyway, so what this does is actually rotate the bezel on the inside. And this is a smooth operating rotation of the bezel. It's really smooth. And this is if you want to time something, right? So this watch does go down to 100 meters, but I would not use this watch for diving. So if I wanted to say, in this case, I've got a car picking me up today at 2:30. So I will set this to 2:30, and that'll remind me that, oh, that's the pickup time for the car. So I'm just able to set another time and then do a countdown on that. Or usually you use it for counting down the minutes. So it's a very smooth moving inner bezel, right? Now to wind this watch, you can, it's hacking as well. So if I were to pull this out all the way, then the second hand is going to stop. That's what hacking is called. So if I do this and then pull it out all the way, I think it's, no, it's not pulled out yet. So I got to watch. I don't want to ruin anything here. Just pull that out like that. There we go. And as you can see, the second hand stopped. That's called hacking. And there's a little pawl that pushes on another gear. It actually, sometimes they push on the balance itself to stop it. I'm not sure how this one works. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, it pushes somewhere to stop that second hand and to stop the movement effectively. And I push it in again. And there's enough energy going from the mainspring through all the wheels to start that second hand without moving it. So that is called hacking. And I can also wind it with this. So if I turn it like this, I'm actually winding it. If I'm turning it clockwise, so I can wind the movement to, or let me just screw this back in so I don't forget, take it for a shower and then I'm screwed. Or as you can see, there's a rotor in the back, right, and that moves it around. And there's the movement spinning away there. See if I can get a close up on this. And I'm going to make sure I don't get too close, because then you won't zoom properly. So that's the movement there. Let me just put it down for a second so I can zoom it correctly. And then, see, that's not bad right there. And then I do basically adjust the zoom, adjust this up, maybe sort of like that, I guess. So, and then I got to block some light here, and you can see, so you can see it spinning here. But it's a beautiful movement. And let me back out a little bit. And so that's the movement on the inside. It says Hamilton written on it. It's a sapphire crown on this as well, which is really nice. And what else is there here? I'm actually looking at my screen to read it right now. I think it's got the movement number on here. No, it's got the part number, H326250. It says water resistant to 20 bars. And then it says 20 bars, or that's 20 bars, 290 psi. If you have your psi meter and you're diving, then you're a better man than me. Stainless steel case, stainless steel. What else? Anyway, that's it there. That's the movement, and the rotor is really nice. That flows. The rotor flows nicely, which means it's pretty high end. I've got other watches, and some of them are stiff, the cheaper ones. The other thing that's interesting to note here is that the back on the watch, it's screwed in. So there's a bunch of little tiny screws here. There's 1, 2, and then one on the bottom, 3, and then one on the top, 4, and then one on the other side, 5. I'd have to look it up, but I would suspect that the case is pressed on and then screwed in, right, to make sure it stays in position. So usually these watches are you rotate them, you can turn them to actually open them for dive watches. I don't believe this is intended to be a diving watch, so they, just to make it very elegant and to make it thinner, because you probably have a little more real estate in here if you had it a screw-on back. So to make it thinner, I suspect they said let's have it a press on and have these screws to keep it in position. So it's probably a good idea to check the tightness of these screws every now and then. So that's the back of it, and if you see it from the side, it's actually pretty thin, right? And if I take my bumblebee, let me just grab the bumblebee watch here, and I take the bumblebee and I put it next to this watch, you'll see the difference in thickness. So that's a pretty substantial difference in thickness, and that's the bumblebee and the Hamilton side by each, right? So it's actually a 42 I believe, the size of it, but it looks kind of the same size, right? So let me turn it around a bit so I don't want to touch. And the Bumblebee has got your typical Seiko Hardalex crystal on it, where this is a sapphire crystal, which is higher end. Kind of move this around. So there we go there. So that's what it looks like beside a Bumblebee dive watch. And this is like a typical Seiko dive watch here, which is nice, and I've got a different strap on it. So the other thing with this watch is that it comes with a really nice leather strap. So I'm trying to center this thing so it's oh, there we go. Should have made a mark. So that's what it looks like there, and it comes with a really nice center strap. And what they've done is they put some kind of wear-in, burn-in decorations on here. So these are not holes. These are like little pimples on the watch strap. I'm not sure whether I like that or not, but it's okay. It's not a distraction. And it's a typical belt buckle, and it says Hamilton on the belt buckle, as you can see. So it's a nice belt buckle. It's got a double thing here, one here and one there. Well, I got a pretty big wrist, so I only use half of it. And I go down to the second thing on there, the second bolt. So that's an all leather strap. It also has this it's raised up a bit here. And when you first get this watch, what I did is I took the strap from this side and I kept bending it here, just to work it in, just to make it bend around my wrist so I wouldn't have to spend so much time trying to make it fit right. I play guitar, by the way. That's why I got long fingernails on this hand, just in case you're curious, which you probably aren't. I'm doing this video during lunch hour right now, so quick lunch hour video, as they say. My wife said, why don't you just fix my new watch instead of doing a box opening something or other with this watch. Anyway, when I first got this, or looked at the watch, my big question was, what is this GMT thing and how does it work? So again, as you see, the GMT hand is pointing here at 5:30 and a half, which is 5:45. So it's currently, if I set this GMT to 5:45, that means somewhere in England it's 5:45. Jordan, you have to add 2 hours, and I believe Australia, you add 4 hours and a day. So, because I was in Australia a couple of weeks ago, and it's 4 hours and a day, plus it's a PM instead of an AM, so it's like maybe 4 hours and a half a day. Actually, it's 16-hour difference. So it's 4 hours and a half a day. So right now in Australia, it would be, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5:45, 4:45? Yeah, 4:45 in the morning. So don't call anybody in Australia right now. So in this case here, I flip the thing to 4:45 and just remember that it's in the morning and not at night. So I don't think they expect you to use this watch if you're going to go fly to Australia tomorrow. So, so anyway, that is the Hamilton GMT, a beautiful piece, beautifully decorated. It's got a white. The only thing that's kind of odd with this is it's difficult to see the hands sometimes. They probably could have made the inside of the hands black, as opposed to putting lume on it. There is a lume on it. I don't know how I can show you the lume without turning everything off, but I can't do that. There is a lume, but it's not like the Seiko lume. The Seiko lume is very bright on my Bumblebee, for example. You could actually see the lume shortly after hitting the light on it. This one here, if I put a light on this one, there's a light on there to see if I can see any lume, and then it might lume a little bit. Okay, there it is. So you see if I move this around there, so you can see the lume now. That's the difference. So that's a lume on the Hamilton GMT. It's not bad, but I use the world's most powerful flashlight to make this lume happen. And I'm not really sure whether you can last 8 hours and then open this up at night and there's a lume again and you can see what time it is and tuck yourself under your bed sheet and say, oh, do I have to get to work yet? Maybe not. Anyway, Hamilton GMT, I did a lot of research before I bought this one. Again, it's got a beautiful movement in it. It's the 2893 -2 ETA movement. The movement alone will cost you about $500 to $700 just for the movement. I purchased this watch. It was $1,200 and some dollars US. So that's what you're expected to pay. So I ended up paying $1,200 Canadian, which is pretty darn good. And I bought it at Joma Shop, and I'm giving Joma Shop some advertising here, but they're good guys. That's where I actually got my my bumblebee watch with the incredibly crazy lume on it. So there we go, Hamilton GMT, beautiful watch, beautiful piece, beautiful movement in the back, or caliber, some people like to say. When this thing gets dirty, I'm going to have to decide whether I want to do the cleaning in it or not. We'll see when that day happens. Anyway, thanks a lot. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you want me to make more, just comment. So this is the Hamilton GMT, and this is how to use it, and I'll talk to you later.